Hello students, today we are doing lesson 1, whole number place value, and this will be found on pages 4 through 5 in your book. So this is about my 6th or 7th time trying to record this lesson and keep the microphone on. So we're going to see if I can keep it on through the whole thing this time. So I already have this chart set up because I've already written it out like 3 different times, so I decided just to leave it here. Okay, so what I want you to do is, now what I'm going to do right now is in red. You don't need to write what's in red, you need to write what's in blue, okay? Okay, so you're going to make these little boxes right here, and the way to do that is to just draw a box. I'm doing this really fast. Cut it in half, cut it in half again. We're trying to make 12 boxes, and then each of these 4 boxes, you're going to put 2 lines in. Okay, and that will give you 12 boxes. Okay, so now I'm going to erase all this red. That's how you make those boxes. And then just write in all those words. Okay, so if you need to pause this video, go ahead and pause the video while you do that. You still should be able to see it up on the screen. So pause the video now, fill out that whole chart, and then come back to me. Okay, so in my classes, you should be taking notes, and the way you take notes is you write exactly what I'm writing down, except if I tell you not to. So sometimes, like a minute ago, I just told you don't write what's in red. That's how I'll do it. I usually do it in a different color or in a different section, and I say don't write this down. But for the most part, write down everything I write down. So you should have this chart written down. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it before we move on to some other things. So I'm going to do some stuff in red. You don't need to do it. So for every 3 numbers, so these boxes are for numbers, we put a comma, right? So I have 3 boxes and then a comma, 3 boxes and then a comma, 3 boxes. So that's the way we write numbers, and everybody should know that. If you're in grade 6 or 7, you should know that. Okay, so each of these sections in between the commas are called periods, okay? So now we're going to write something because I'm going to put it in blue. This stuff up here is called the place value. So all of these, each one of these is a place value. So each section has a place value. But down here, we're going to write down what each of these little 3 number sections are called, okay? And each of those is called a period. So if I start way over here, this period is called the ones. This period is called the thousands. This one is called millions. And this one is called billions. So for the most part, except for the one section, so if you could see my hand and I could cover up the one section, like, don't write this in red. If I could just cover this up and look at these. Every one of these up here says thousands, right? And then this next section, millions, every one of them says millions, and the same with the billions. Okay, the ones does not do that. But that whole section is called ones, even though there's tens and hundreds in there. You do not need to know what the periods are, okay, but it is written in your book. It just helps me to show you how we're going to write these in a word format. Okay, let's go ahead and fill in those boxes with some numbers. So I'm gonna do this number. Right now I'm just gonna show you the numbers, and then later on we'll talk about how to say it. So in the first box, let's put 4, then 7, 3. Next one is 6, 0, 1. And even though this is a different color, I still want you to write it, okay? And then 0, 8, 2, and 5, 9, 3. Okay, so if I were to write that out, not in the boxes, this would be called my standard form. Okay, so we're going to write that down. Standard form is just the number. So this is going to be written like this, and we're going to put those commas in there. Okay, and usually when you put commas in, you start from right, and you move to the left. So you start here and you count 3, and then you put a comma. You count 3, and then you put a comma. Okay, so every time you're putting commas, you're starting from the right to put those commas. And I need to see your commas, so make sure that you can see them. And we're going to talk about why in just a minute. Okay, so that's standard form. You're going to ask to write some things in word form. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to write this same number right here, but we're going to write it in word form. So the way to do that is to go by the period. So we're going to go by each of these sections while we're writing it. So the first one, remember red you do not need to write. We're going to write this number just like that. That's how we're going to start it. So we're going to say 473. And then we're going to write what period it's in. So the 473 is in the billions section, right? So that's what we're going to write. After we write 473, we're going to write billions. And then we're going to put a comma, just like there's a comma right here in the number. So we're going to write a comma, and then we're going to go to the next one. So the next one is 601. Okay, we don't say and one. We say 601. And then we're going to write the period that one's in. Well, that one's in the millions place. So we're going to put 601 million. Millions. And then a comma. Now the next number right here is 082. So we're going to leave out that 0 because it's at the beginning. And we're just going to say 82. So we're going to write 82. And that section is the thousands. So we're going to put 82 thousands. And then the last one in comma. And then the last one, this 593, we're going to write it just like that. With ones, you don't write ones at the end. We're just going to write 593. Okay, and that's how we write that number in words. So that's our word form. So we have standard form and word form. And they're gonna ask you for these in your homework. They're gonna give it to you like this in words, and you're gonna have to put it into numbers, and the other way around. They're gonna give it to you in numbers, and you're gonna have to write it in words. So make sure that you know how to go back and forth between each of those. Remember, the commas in the words, you have to write those or you're going to get points off. And the same in numbers. So I don't want you to write this, but let's say I had a number that looked like this. Okay, how am I going to know how to say that number if there's no commas in there? Okay, so now if I put commas in there, so if I go like this, now I know, oh, that's 8,123,456. But when I didn't have the commas in there, then you can't tell if it's in the millions place or the billions place. So you need to put those commas into your numbers. Okay, so now let's talk about expanded form. So the next one is called expanded form. And just to start out, I'm going to rewrite this number down here to help you see it better instead of having all those word circles all over it. So this is not expanded form, right? This is standard form. I'm going to write that right here, standard form. And now I'm going to change it into expanded form. So the way you do expanded form is you're going to go through and do each of these numbers except for zeros. So let's start with the first one. We're going to take 4, and I'm going to come way over here because this is going to be long. I'm going to take the 4, and then all these numbers after it are going to be zeros. So you can count those numbers. There's actually 11 of them, and you're going to put 11 zeros. Make sure that you put the commas where they belong. So that's the first part of my expanded form. Then you're going to put a plus sign, and you're going to do the next number. So my next number is 7. I'm going to put the 7. I forget about the 4 because I already did the 4. And then I'm going to put all the zeros after it. So this time there's not 11 zeros. This time there's 10 zeros. Okay, and then I'm going to put a plus sign. So now I've done the 7. So now I need to do 3. So I'm going to put a 3. And then there's going to be 9 zeros after it. So 3 and then comma. The commas stay the same. So 3 comma and then 9 zeros. Okay, so I've done the 3. Now I'm going to go on to the 6. So I hope you're getting the hang of this. So now I'm going to have 6, and there are 8 zeros. Oops. Hold on, I did not mean to put that comma there. Okay, now there are 8 zeros. Okay, we do not do zeros. So I did the 6. This 0 I do not have to do. So I just put plus, and now I'm going to do the 1. I'm going to go down here. 1, and then I have 6 zeros. Plus, okay, got rid of that one. It's another 0, so I don't have to do that one. The 8 is going to be 8, and then 4 zeros afterwards. All right, so there's my 8. 2 and 3 zeros afterwards, so 2,000. The 5 is just going to be 500, right? 2 zeros afterwards. Then we have plus 90 and plus 3. The very last one has no zeros after it because there's no numbers after it. Okay, so that's how you write expanded form. It's pretty long on this number because it was so long. So what I want you to do is do an example form, or I want you to, hold on, that shouldn't say example. I want you to try one on your own. So OYO means on your own. And I'm going to do kind of a smaller one. So take 72,567 and write it in expanded form. Write in expanded form. I'm just going to put EX. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause. Do that one on your own. Try it on your own. And then come back, and I'm going to do it with you, and you'll see if you got it right. So hit pause right now. Okay, now you came back. You should have written this on your notes. If you get it wrong, then just hit pause and correct it in your notes. Okay, so I'm going to take this 7, and I'm going to put 7, and then all the rest are going to be 0. So that's 70,000. Plus, the next one is 2, so I'm going to put 2, and that one's 2,000, right? Because it's in the thousands place. Then I'm going to take the 5, and I have 2 zeros afterwards because there's 2 places after it. And I have 60, and the last number is 70. So that's how you write that number in expanded form. Okay, next section. Okay, so that was all on place value. Okay, in the next section, we're going to do comparing and ordering, but we're not going to do any ordering on our notes because you just use the same strategies that you use for comparing whole numbers. Okay, let me get the examples up here. Okay, give me just a second. Oops, sorry. Okay, so the first example is if I have, so this is going to be example 1. If I have 2,126,826, and I want to compare that to 216,924. So when we're comparing whole numbers, we're using the greater than sign and the less than sign. Okay, and we'll talk more about those as we go on. But in order to compare these two numbers, they're both starting with a 2. Is what you're going to look at is what place that 2 is in. So this one is in the millions place, right? And this one is in the hundred thousands place. So millions are bigger than hundred thousands. So I'm going to put my compare sign or my inequality sign like this. It's going to open up to the bigger number. So some kids have a problem remembering which way these go or what they are called. When it opens up to the right, it is called greater than. And when it opens to the left, it's called less than. So the way to know which one to write in there is think about it. If y'all all know the 80s video game Pac-Man, you could turn this into a Pac-Man, and he wants to eat the bigger number, right? So his mouth is open towards the bigger number. Okay, but I don't want you to actually draw a Pac-Man. That's just an example. Okay, so that's the first way to tell is what place is the very first number in. Okay, example 2 has, if I have, well, it's going to be the same thing. If I have 75,541 and 675,809, and I want to compare these two, I can't just look at the first number because this one has 6 numbers in it and this one has 5 numbers in it. So I need to look at the place value because this one is a 7 and bigger, but it's in the 10,000s place, right? And this number is in the 100,000s place. So 100,000s is going to be bigger than 10,000s. So my inequality sign is going to open to the 675,000. So this means less than. And the reason it means less than is because the number on the left is less than this number. So it's like you're reading in a book. You start on this side on the left and you read this way, right? So if I was going to say this, I would say 75,541 is less than 675,809. Okay? Okay, and then the last one, example 3, for comparing. So what I need to do next is look at the next number that's different. So if those are in the same places, you just go through and say, okay, ones are the same, fives are the same, 8 and 9 are different. 9 is bigger, so I'm going to have my sign open up or act like it's eating the bigger number, right? So this is the less than sign because the one on the right is bigger. So this tells me 15,893 is less than 15,938. So that's how you compare and order numbers. Okay, so that's the first part of your section of this section, and you're going to be comparing whole numbers in your handbook. So now we're going to move on to the third section. The third section is rounding. Okay, and in rounding, what we want to do is we're going to, it's pretty easy, but there's two ways that they're gonna ask you to do. Okay, they're gonna ask you to round to the greatest value, and then they're gonna ask you to round to a specific place value. Okay, so let me take this number for instance, 679,672,670. So the first thing, some of the first ones they'll ask you is to round to the greatest value. Okay, so that means the first number. So to the greatest value here is 100 million. So we're going to round to that value. Okay, if it was just this, then the greatest value would be 100, right? Well, there's a couple zeros. But on this big number, they're asking for it to be rounded to that 6. So when they ask for that rounding, this is how you round. Underline the one they're asking you to round to, the place they're asking you to. If it says greatest value, you underline the first one. Then look to the right. Okay, if the number on the right is 0, 1, 2, or 3, your underlined number is going to stay the same. But if it, or 4. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then your number is going to go up by 1. Okay, so what does that mean? You're saying, oh man, that kind of sounds complicated. What it means is I say, okay, 7 is in this group, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that means I'm going to go back to the one I underlined, and that 6 is going to go up. It's going to go up to 7, and everything after it is going to turn into 0. Okay? Now, if I take that same number, 679,672,828, and they ask me a specific place value, so let's say it says round to the millions place, that means I need to find the millions place. So which number on here is in the millions place? Okay, which is the 9, right? That's in the millions place. So I'm going to underline that number, and then I'm going to look to the right. And all that on the right is telling me is this part that's in those squares. I'm going to say, is that going to make that 9 stay the same if it's one of these numbers, or is it going to go up? Well, 1 is right here, so the 9 is going to stay the same, not the 1. We're only working with the number that's underlined. The one to the right of it tells you what to do. Okay, so if that's going to stay the same, then that means I'm going to write everything before it, 679, and the 9 stays the same, and then everything after it turns into 0. Okay, I hope that makes sense to y'all. Okay, so the next part, so let's do a smaller one like this. So let's see, we did to example 3, let's do example 4 here. want you to take 17,841 and round to the greatest place, greatest value is what they say in your book. It's famous place, right? Place value. So what am I going to do? Underline the greatest value, so that's the 1. Look at the 7, and the 7 tells me, if I look up here, 7 tells me that I'm going to go up, right? So instead of 1, that's going to change to 2. And then everything else is 0. Even the 7 turns into 0. Okay, now I want you to do one on your own, and then I'll give you one more with me. Okay, so let's do 600, nope, sorry, I did this last time. Let's not do the same number that we had up there. Let's do 543,108. Okay, and I want you to round to the, let's just do the hundredth place. Okay, so take that number, hit pause, and round that to the hundredth place, and then come back and listen to the other. Okay, so you should have underlined that hundredths place. Look to the right, and that 0 tells me that it's going to stay the same. So my answer is going to be 543,100. So all those numbers before stayed the same. The only ones that changed to zeros are the ones after it. Okay, and then last example before we are done with our notes is, let's say I have 5,952. Okay, and I want to round to the hundredths. Okay, sorry, I kind of ran out of room here, so I'm going to put round to hundredths place, right? Okay, so hundredths place is the 9. So I look at the 5, and that 5 tells me to go up. Well, how do I go up from a 9? It would become a 10, and a 10 doesn't fit in there. So when I have one that has a 9 in it, instead of just looking at the 9 and saying, well, I can't just round that to 10, is I look at the whole number, this whole number. So think of it as 59. So if I had 59 and I need to round up, then that's going to round to 60, and then everything after it is 0. So my answer there would be 6,000. That's it for lesson 1. Thank you.